We used the drone today for the first time.
All those video games came in useful.
We're Danny and Kate. 5 years ago, we left the UK to start a new chapter of our lives together in Barcelona. We've enjoyed the busy city, sunny beaches and the snow-capped mountains, but it's time for a new adventure. We're on the hunt for a piece of land in the Spanish countryside to build an off-grid tiny house and start a homestead. Follow along as we build our dream life together. This is the second weekend in a row that we've come down to the Baix Ebre region, and we're going to be doing a little bit more property hunting. We're going to see a couple today with a second estate agent. It's actually an English estate agent who moved over here some 25 years ago or so, and she helps people to buy properties in the area. She's got lots of local links, so we're going to meet up with her first today. And the noise that you can hear in the background is our new toy. We just bought a drone so that we can have a look at the land. It's also just a really cool toy to play with. We're just having a go, getting used to using it, getting used to use the little kind of joysticks and everything to maneuver it around safely. And yeah, we're hoping to be able to see a better view of the land by using that, so that we can get the bird's eye view and see which parts are included in the plot, etc., and look at the kind of surrounding areas that we might not necessarily be able to walk to if it's too built up with too many kind of plants and trees and things, and not able to walk through it. So yeah, just at the Ruinas Romanas at the moment, which are the Roman ruins, and just having a look at the nice countryside around here. There are some really gorgeous views, and taking the drone for a spin. So here we are at property number 5. So this one is down a little bit further down the river, kind of halfway between Benifia and down at Tortosa. And this one has a building on site, but it's a little bit different than it looks at first impression. So if we walk through this way, you'll see what I mean. Because as we go through this doorway here, it's absolutely huge. I think it's probably about 100 square meters in total. We've just paced it out. It used to be used for keeping animals, but it is possible to turn this into a proper dwelling. So yeah, it's an absolutely massive building. The roof would obviously need to be taken down and kind of redone to make that structurally sound. But all of the walls and everything are kind of bricked walls and absolutely fine for renovation. So a really nice surprise from this property, from number 5. Yeah, much bigger than we were expecting. And although the land is a bit smaller, it actually has really flat, usable land. At the moment, this is being used for olive groves, and obviously we wouldn't get rid of the olives, but there's plenty of space to actually run chicken tractors in between the olives, and kind of create laneways between. Not too rocky, the ground. It is kind of, it's dry at the moment, but there's a reasonable amount of kind of soil in this area. But you know, the olive trees are definitely looking pretty healthy. There's actually olives on them there, so that's nice to see. There's a big carob tree here as well as the kind of olives and things. So carob actually grows in these long kind of pods, and it gets used in a similar way to chocolate. So to the side of where the main building is, there's also a piece on the edge here, which has a kind of separate section around in this side here. Obviously can all be renovated as well. And then just behind the house here, there's a kind of big water tank, which is filled by a natural well. So under here, there's, you can just about see down to the bottom, there's natural water source on the land as well, which is pretty fantastic. This cisterna is a natural water source. It's a bit like a well, but basically it fills up with rainwater through the rock. And you can see from the reflection, it's absolutely full to the brim. So it's actually got 2 stories, this little house, and unfortunately we don't have the key today to be able to go in and have a look. But look through this little gap here, we can just about see inside that there's a little kind of steps area. It's pretty well decked out inside already as a basis, and yeah, it's quite a good quality to start from to do a renovation. So although this one has a completely different feel about it, it's really, really interesting. The terracing that you can see here behind, the kind of top couple of terraces here, there's a little house just there. That little house, the top few terraces there are about 5 or 6 of them are owned by that property, but then everything else underneath is owned by this property, plus the mountainscape that goes down behind us here, and also around the corner there's another set of terracing down that way as well, plus behind the house there's then 2 or 3 more terraces up that way as well. The land is workable, but in a very different way. So rather than having things on flat land, it would be kind of working out how to use the bancals, as they call them here, the terraced areas, to actually kind of run things along and then maybe down and along and down and along. Very interesting that the house has this opportunity of the 2 stories. It's in very good condition on the inside from what we can see, although we haven't been able to go inside it today. Yeah, big curveball. So now we're at property number 7. The land is actually quite large. It's just over 5 acres. Everything is a lot more overgrown here. Obviously it's not been kind of managed the same way as the other plots that we've seen. There'd be a lot of work to do to make this land more usable, but it is very, very flat. And although there's a kind of layer of rocks on top, if you move those rocks out of the way, there's actually reasonable dirt underneath. So it would just be about finding a way to kind of manage this land and set it up ready for use. So the stone house that we have here is one of the kind of sloping roof ones that we've seen before. This one's a reasonably big one actually. It's about 40 square meters more or less, and it is possible to actually raise the height slightly. It's a legal requirement that it needs to have a sloping roof. We just found that out, but it does mean that if we wanted to on that side there, we could kind of raise everything up a little bit and put in like a mezzanine. You can't put in a total second floor, but you can put in a kind of half level on one of the sides, as long as that roof is still sloping. And as we go into the little house here, I mean, you can see there's a tree growing right inside it, but you can see here got the stone walls, a few of the old roof tiles that have fallen in. It's in quite a disrepair at the moment, obviously. Trees growing right in the centre of the building here, but relatively kind of good. The walls are pretty well built. Yeah, definitely that's something that could be done to renovate this relatively easily. So yeah, another interesting property. This one is actually only 12,000 euros, so much, much cheaper than some of the other things that we've seen, and quite a lot better than that one that we saw at 10,000 euros because of the size, but also because of the usability of the land. This one has much more areas of flat land. Yes, they need to be cleared, but they're in much better condition or more usability than the ones that we saw at the 10,000 euro property, because that was all kind of up the mountainside. But yeah, this one is at the end of a very long track though, so it probably took close to 30 minutes from the main road from Benifallet We came off that main road, down a kind of country track, which then turned into a mountain track. Then we went up the high road and into the mountain. So that's the only thing that I'm kind of umming and ahhing about at the moment, is that distance to get here. There's a really nice mix of trees on this land already. So there are olives, there's carob, and there's also almond trees as well, which is something that we haven't seen on the other properties yet. They may be there, we just haven't discovered them. This one has been producing in the past and was being harvested, but isn't necessarily right now. But yeah, the trees are looking in pretty good condition. Some of them are fruiting, so it's very likely that we could bring them back to good health reasonably quickly. And yeah, the landscape is just really quite stunning. Nice big doorway. And the walls are pretty intact actually. And it's actually a 2-story on this side because there's officially a little window in there. So very easy to put a mezzanine in there in this original building. Or there's actually some walls on the other side indicating that the footprint is actually bigger. On the back side of the property here, you can see that there's actually a little kind of wall and then a wall coming this way here. And technically that's the footprint of the building. So it's actually possible to construct another piece there, or knock this down, which you wouldn't want to do, but reconstruct something that actually enclosed all of that area there. It can either be separated with its own door, or it can be knocked through and connected to the rest of the house. We've just walked down along this way here. You can see the house over here in the background. There's actually a second mini stone house here, which can also be renovated. So there's actually 2 properties on this piece of land. And there's a whole load of terracing that goes all the way up here, all the way into the back there, across, right the way across here, all the way up this side, all where it's bancal, and also behind the trees here. There's some more that you can't see just at the moment, and back to the house there. So a really big property, and you can see how good the land is. It's all kind of quite rocky, but you can see if we just kind of scrub a section here, underneath it's dirt almost immediately. So probably very easy to cultivate this land, probably with pigs, chickens, etc. As we've discussed for some of the past ones, and then yeah, turning this into pasture. We're just back at the hotel now after spending about, what was it, 4.5 hours, something like that, looking around different properties. We saw 4 different ones today, completely different from the first 4 that we saw and completely different from each other. But now we have a lot to think about, so we're going to go out, get some food and mull everything over. But we used the drone today for the first time. Did you have fun?
I did, yeah. All those video games came in useful.
So yeah, we're going to go out, have a chat, have a think. We'll come back to you soon. We just asked to put down the deposit.